Hi, welcome back to the Offplan show. This is Mirio Koto, CEO and founder of Canopy Properties. So today we're going to talk about something really important for real estate investors in the UAE, especially in Dubai. Now, make sure you know about these things if you want to buy a property in the UAE or anywhere in Dubai, especially if it's off plan. Now, the things that we're going to discuss here are really, really important because I see a lot of real estate investors lose money because they did not pay attention to these things that I'm about to talk about here. So pay attention and let's go through them one by one. Remember, these are things that you need to do research on. Make sure that you understand them very well, understand the real estate market, understand these points, and if you're new to the real estate business, maybe these points can help you make the right real estate investment and potentially not lose money, okay? Because this is hard-earned money that you're going to spend in the real estate here in Dubai. So let's get to it. These are the 10 things which I believe every real estate investor must know about when they're investing in real estate in Dubai. And let's see if you can guess all of them or any of them. All right. So let's start with number one. Number one, you have to know about the real estate developer. This is a big point. Now, I'm listing these points in order of the most important up to the last, okay? So number one, the developer is really, really important, okay? Make sure when you're investing in real estate, especially if it's off plan, okay, get a good real estate developer, all right? If you're new to the real estate business in Dubai or anywhere at all in the world, and you want to invest in off plan because of the money and the profit involved, make sure you go with a safe developer, okay? A developer that's reputable and has done a lot of projects and is very strong in that area, okay? So these developers will mainly ensure that your property is delivered on time, your property is of high quality, and your property is, of high standard, compared to that area. So always do your research. Go for the best developer if you're absolutely new to the real estate market, okay? Do not waste your time with developers who are not strong. If you want to save money, go to the best real estate developers and, check what they're doing, okay? So do your research on the real estate developer because this is really, really important. I see a lot of investors come into Dubai and they invest with some random developer and their projects are, delayed or the quality isn't as they expected. So make sure you always go with the right real estate developer. Do your research and always remember that the biggest real estate developer doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right developer for you, okay? So pair yourself with the type of developer that is suited for your needs. I'll give you a quick example. Imar doesn't build studios, okay? And perhaps you're a studio buyer and the money that you have, the last money that you have is only enough for a studio. So immediately that puts you out of Imar's category, all right? There are other real estate developers that you can look at who fall under the same price range. Say you have only about 500,000 local dirhams, okay? Look at other real estate developers who are also reputable and are good in the market. This is the type of mentality that you have to have, okay? So you have to understand something that's called the developer personality, okay? So different developers have different strong points and traits, okay? There are developers who are very good in building townhouses and villas. They're necessarily not good in building residential apartments. There are some developers who are really good in building residential apartments, but they are not good in building communities. Okay, so you have to do your research and understand how much exactly are you willing to spend and which developer really fits your need. So in that context, make sure you understand something that's called developer personality. Okay, it is really, really important. Okay, there are some developers who build great projects which are great for your ROI. And there are other developers that build great projects which are really good for your capital appreciation, for capital gains. So make sure you're able to dissect properly and see which developer fits your need currently at the moment. Okay? Don't go buying a penthouse from a developer that doesn't really build a lot of penthouses. Do you understand what I mean? So Omniat is really, really good at building penthouses. Their price will start around 20 million, 30 million and above. All right. But I can't go to Omniat and ask for a villa because they don't do villas. Okay. They do mainly luxury projects. So that's the type of mentality that you should have. Understand the developer personality. That is the main point that you need to understand. Number two is the type of project. Okay. So you have to understand that every developer has different types of projects that they are releasing. Okay. As an investor, you should look at the project that fits your needs and your, expectation in terms of the budget, and also what you want to achieve. Do you want to achieve return on investment? All right, that's your rent coming in on a monthly or a yearly basis, or do you want to get high capital appreciation? Now, the type of project can either be low-rise buildings or high-rise buildings or a villa community. All right, so you have to look accordingly and find the best projects that's suited for yourself. Okay. If you want to do big capital appreciation, capital gains, if that's where your game is, you want to sell your property and get the big bucks, then you're better off doing communities. Okay. Because this is where the big bucks is. All right. The villas will appreciate. If you want to do high return on investment, you care about the cash flow, then you do residential buildings. All right. In residential buildings, there's a whole topic that I'll cover when we go to the bottom. All right. But if you're a new real estate investor here in Dubai, you're better off doing low rise buildings. Okay. There's less competition. The unit is compact. The building is compact. So that means there's easy entry and easy exit when you want to sell your property. There's not a lot of competition even when you want to sell your property. So the type of project is really, really important here. Okay. So you have to understand, what do you want to achieve? If, say, you want to buy a studio, you can't look at a villa community. Yeah. Or you want to buy a studio and you go to a high residential building. It doesn't make sense. If you want to do a studio, probably this is a person with a limited budget. Do a low rise building. Okay. Does that make sense? Number three, now I'm going really fast because there's a lot of things I need to cover here. Number three is the location. This is self-explanatory. Everybody knows about location. Location is one of the most important things that you can do or look at. So not much to discuss here, but the location really is important, especially here in Dubai. However, the developer is just as important as the location, because in Dubai, a developer can go to the outskirts and move development there. All right. A good example is Imar with the Valley. All right. They took an area which a lot of people consider to be a desert. They went there and built a mega community, and the property value there has appreciated. Now people are coming there. All right. So location, how do you define location? Pay attention to what the government is saying. Where is the government putting its money. All right. This you can see with the way the government is pushing developments. Right now, the government in Dubai is pushing developments towards the south. You can see this Palm Jebel Ali, the world's biggest airport coming very soon. So towards the southern part of Dubai. So that's really important. Location is important. But the way to identify location is by listening to what the government is saying. Look at where development is going. Look at where the population is going. Because capital appreciation follows population. Okay? Footfall, activities, that's where the money is. So location is really important if you know where the government is going to. That's a tip if you want to invest in off plan, because you know off plan means that the property is under construction. All right. Number four, the type of unit. Now, the type of unit is really important. What do I mean by that? Um, you see, you can either invest in a studio, a one bedroom, a two bedroom, a three bedroom, or a townhouse. Okay. Now, the type of unit is important because if, for example, you're in a skyscraper, you don't want to do a studio. What do you do? What are you doing a studio for in a skyscraper? All right. So the type of unit is important because it allows you to invest in the unit which has more demand. Say for example, you look at a building, and the building has say 100 units, okay, and 50% of these units are studios, okay, all right. The other say 25% is one bedroom, and the other 25% is two bedroom, okay. So immediately I don't want to buy the studios because there's a lot of studios, okay, competition. I want to avoid competition. I want to be exclusive, so I go to the one beds and the two beds. So that's important for the type of unit, okay. So you got to identify what type of unit do you want. Inherently here in Dubai, one beds and two beds do very well in the market. So it's easier to rent them, easier to sell them. Because just think of it this way: anybody coming to Dubai is either coming with, their wife or girlfriend or somebody, right? So they'll typically stay in a one bedroom, all right? A studio, probably, somebody who's just moved in quickly and later on they'd want to graduate to a one bedroom. But if you want to make your residence permanent, most people would end up buying a one bedroom. So one bed, two bed, quick turnover. Okay, there's a lot of business in that. It just makes sense. It's a no-brainer. All right. But also understand this: the type of unit is important because if I'm in a villa community, I'm in a big master community, beautiful, like for example, Dubai Hills. I don't want to buy a one bed or a two bed when there's villas. Get the villa. It will make more money if you have that money. All right. Say you want to buy a full floor, all right, and there's a villa. The villa will appreciate much faster than the full floor. Though the full floor might give you quicker return on investment, but the villa would eventually have quicker appreciation. So always pay attention to the type of unit. Okay, how many units are there in the building? Do your due diligence. Look at what's the orientation of these units. For example, in modern buildings right now, the cheaper units are placed in the back, all right, the studios and the one beds, and the nicer units, the two bedrooms, so forth, are placed on the front, the nicer units, all right. So make sure you understand that, okay. So the nicer two bedrooms would be front facing, having the best views, and the studios, which are cheaper, will be in the back. So if you can move to a one bedroom, then do that and make more money. So the type of unit is really important. Make sure you do your research when you get a new project. Go through all the units that are available in that building and say, okay, the studios are there, but maybe this type of unit makes more sense than this other type of units. Okay, a quick example is for example, a property that is next to a university and you want to buy a 4 bedroom. What for? You know, people who are close in the university, they probably want studios, right? Or one beds, right? Imagine this, you're close to a school, a big school, a kid's school where families are and parks are and hospitals, and then you buy a studio. When an area like this is good with families, you want to buy a 2 bedroom and a 3 bedroom because it's easier to rent. People who want a building that's close to, you know, a big school like that and hospitals and all of these things and malls, they probably have a family, right? So it makes more sense to do a 2 bedroom. I think that's enough of that. You now understand the type of unit matters. Number 5 is the building configuration. Now, what do I mean by that? Building configuration is really important. You see, you could either invest in high residential buildings, right? This is a building with 50 floors and above, okay? Or you can invest in a low-rise building, all right? Or you could invest in a, you know, a townhouse community, all right? So the building configuration is really, really important because if you don't pay attention to that, you're potentially going to lose money. Say you buy property in a high-rise building, okay? So this is a building with 50 floors, all right? And you're investing in the bottom, yeah, the units which are on the first floor, ground floor, second floor. Your unit will not be in much demand, okay? So you won't have great appreciation. You won't be able to sell your property quicker. You won't rent your property as fast as you want. You want to be somewhere in the middle or just above the middle, okay? You want to be on the 20th floor, the 50th, the 30th floor, so on, okay? Because the point of having a high-rise building, okay, is being at the top, okay? If that was not your point, then go to a low-rise building. And if you're new to the real estate business, don't do high-rise buildings. Just do low-rise buildings, which is safe. If you haven't invested anything anywhere, do low-rise buildings because it's much safer for you. I'll get into the reason why on the 10th point. So make sure you stay with me till the end of the video. So that's really important. The building configuration is really important. So if you're going to buy, say, a 2 bedroom in a high-rise building or a 3 bedroom, yeah, don't go to the ones at the bottom. Go to the ones at the top because a high-rise building mainly is positioned in a way that it has a stunning view, okay? And the building configuration is also important in what regard? The building configuration is also important because of the direction in which the building is placed. You want to buy a property which has a lot of sunlight. There's a lot of sunlight coming in. Imagine buying a property in a high-rise building, say at the bottom, and there's no sunlight, okay? Nobody wants to live in that apartment because it just feels cold and it's gloomy and it's dark. You don't want that, all right? As opposed to a property which is at the top and it has great sunlight coming in, all right? So building orientation also matters. Indians call it Vastu, and other people in the, you know, Asian region, you know. So the building direction is also really, really important. Which direction is it facing? Okay, is it facing where there's a lot of sunlight coming in? Is it facing a direction where it's more vibrant? You know, is it facing, for example, a road? A road will be noisy. You don't want to be facing on the road because if there's a highway there, the road will be just like, wow, there's a lot of roads, there's a lot of cars passing through the road, so it's just going to be noisy. So that's the importance of, you know, the building configuration and the direction. You want to be situated and located in a way that it makes your property shine, and this could be maybe enough fresh air or the sunlight and so on. Also, building configuration means the number of units in that building. Okay, say you have a one bedroom and in that building there's about 600 units. When are you going to sell your property? In that building there's say 800 units. When are you going to sell your property? There's a lot of competition. The person next is probably selling his property at 50% discount. How can you compete with that? So this will mean you potentially lose money. Okay, so always have exclusivity. Check the building configuration and see, is it okay with you? Does it match your expectation? Because remember, you want to avoid competition as much as possible. You want somebody to walk into your building and say, I like this property for it being itself. Okay, they don't have to compare with the other unit and be like, you're selling for 1.5, the guy next door is selling for 1.2. No. So you have to check about the building configuration. So that will include the position of the unit, direction of the sun. Is it getting a lot of fresh air? The noise coming from the road? Is it a boulevard road? Is it a highway road? You know, the number of units, how many units are there? Are you getting a lot of competition? If there are too many one bedrooms, then don't do the one bedrooms, do the two bedrooms. If there are too many units all together in this property, then don't do it all together. Okay, try to be secluded. Now, number 6, the floor plan and the layout. Listen, you can buy any unit just because you're buying a property. But that's a mistake you don't want to do. Okay, when you buy the unit, take a look at the floor plan. Okay, you want to have a good floor plan. You don't want to walk into the unit and immediately you're met with a toilet. You don't want to walk into the apartment and immediately there's the master bedroom. So it has to, the best way to explain this is the property has to tell a story. Okay, you have to walk into the apartment, you meet the foyer, all right, the entrance of the apartment, all right. You move a little bit further, maybe there's a little storage or something like that for you to hang your coat. You move in, there's the living room. Okay, you move a little bit to the left, there's the kitchen. You move to the right, there's the powder room or the guest bathroom. You move further down, there's the first bedroom. You move further down, there's the second bedroom. You move further down, there's the third bedroom. You come back up, there's the balcony attached to the living room, and then another balcony in the second bedroom, and then the first bedroom, and then the third bedroom. There's a story being told, but you don't want to be confused. You just walk in and, there's no design to that layout. All right. The floor plan also matters because if the unit doesn't have enough character, then it's not special. Okay. Because I remember I walked into this unit and I was trying to rent it for a long time, and it was a two bedroom. But every tenant I showed it to, they used to ask me, where am I going to place the TV? Because when you walk into the apartment, immediately you just walk in directly and it's the living room. Literally, you walk in and that's the living room. And then you go further up, the kitchen. That's a terrible layout, right? So where are you going to place the TV? At the entrance. So there has to be a character, a layout, something that makes the house and the room cozy, right? Because eventually you're going to rent it to residents, tenants who want to stay in the apartment. And if the layout is confusing, then nobody wants to stay there. Just imagine having the washroom right next to the kitchen. So that's enough about that. Make sure if it's off plan for sure, take a look at the floor plan and the layout. All right, don't just buy it just because you bought it. Look at the layout and see if indeed it matches your expectation. This includes the sizes as well. All right. Number 7 is the view. Now, the view is a separate point on its own. Okay, it is very important that you get a very good view. Because if you don't have a great view, you won't make money. Because, especially for end users have little logic when buying property and more about emotion when investing their property, because they're homeowners, they're end users. Okay, they're not going to rent. They don't care about the return on investment. They care just about them being comfortable. All right. So having a good view can save you from a bad layout. Having a good view can save you from a bad developer. Having a good view can save you from a terrible location. Okay, so make sure, try to get a good view. But all these points also doesn't mean that you should overlook an opportunity just because you think that a property has a bad view. Okay, so at the end of the day, opportunity is opportunity. Okay, so don't skip investing just because there is no a good view. But if you can get the best view, get the best view. Paying extra for that good view is really, really important. Okay, it's going to translate to your capital appreciation. That eventually will translate to your return on investment. Because think of it this way: if a penthouse didn't have a good view, then it's not really a penthouse, because a penthouse is at the top of the building, right? Having maybe 360 views. But if a penthouse was at the top and it's blocked with other buildings, it's not really a penthouse. There's no view. It's not interesting living in that penthouse. So make sure you have a good view. A lot of investors don't think about that, but put that into consideration. Pay a little bit extra to have the water facing apartment, or amazing view. Now that leads me to point number 8. Now this point number 8 is really, really important. All right, it's something that you only have to be able to pick up through intuition, or extensive knowledge in the real estate market and experience, or you just have an eye for things. And this is something that I call the wow factor. Now, what is the wow factor? Say there's a building, right? What makes this building tick? What is the special thing about this building? What makes it special? What makes it exceptional? Okay, this is what we call the wow factor. Is it next to a mall? All right, so that means a lot of activities in the mall, so people want to stay in your property. Okay, is it next to a park? Okay, a lot of families in that park. That's a wow factor. All right, so people want to just come down and go to the park. Very good. Okay, is it next to the metro station? Accessibility. You just come down from your property, 2 walks, you're already in the metro station. You can take the train. Is it near the beach? All right, beach access. That is a wow factor. Is it a branded residence? Okay, a branded residence is really, really important, all right, because it means that it's exclusive, it's rare, it's special. Imagine staying in a hotel branded, residential apartment, like a Hilton residences, or something of that nature, a Marriott residence, all these big branded uh, properties. So it gives your property an edge, right? It's special. It's not like every other property. So when buying real estate, after you've gone through all the 7 points, you get to the 8th point. What is the wow factor about this project? And the wow factor can be anything. Maybe it's the next best thing, Development is moving towards that area, right? Appreciation is quickly moving towards that area. That is the wow factor. It could be Dubai land. Dubai land now is booming. It could be Dubai South. Dubai South is right now booming, right? So it could be Maidan. Maidan is now booming. So make sure you understand the wow factor, and your property has to have something special, other than the developer, other than the quality, other than the price, other than the building and everything else. What is the wow factor? Okay, what makes this building impressive? What makes this project impressive other than everything else? All right. What makes it tick? What makes it special from the rest? Okay. Then we go to the ninth point. This has got to be the payment plan. A lot of investors don't think about the payment plan. So many of them. But the payment plan is a tool which I think a lot of investors don't utilize very well. The payment plan is there to help you leverage on your property, right? So you want to have a payment plan that allows you to spend less from your pocket, okay, and more of the tenant's money and the bank's money upon completion. This could be a payment plan like 50-50, all right? That means 50% during construction and 50% upon handover, all right? That's a 50-50 payment plan, preferably linked to construction. So say if a property was worth 2 million, right? That means if a payment plan is 50-50, all right, the terms of payment, that means you're paying 1 million during construction and another 1 million upon handover. That means your cash, your initial investment, your return on cash, all right, will be on the 1 million. So you just have to spend 1 million. Right? You just have to spend 1 million of your own money. The other 1 million, the tenant will help you pay it, and you can get it from the bank, right? Because you can get, finance from the bank, so on. Or if it's 50-50, you just have to spend 1 million and sell it upon completion, right? But I always prefer, if you want to sell your property, sell it like 1 year after completion, 1.5 years or maybe 2 years at maximum if you really, really want to sell it, because then you will have experience on what the return on investment is. You can see how much it's making and at what pace it's making, and you would have enough data to support your selling price. Okay. So there's that. Always utilize the payment plan. The payment plan is there for your benefit. Don't overlook the payment plan. If you're a numbers guy, you understand. Always take a look at the payment plan. Even if you're an end user, some properties, some projects have a post handover payment plan. That means even when the property is completed, you still have a payment plan to continue, and you can pay slowly by slowly until you complete. Okay. Number 10, this is the last point that you need to know. And this is by far one of the most important things that you need to understand and focus on if you want to invest in real estate. And let's see if you can guess it. This is really important. And in order for you to get this right, you must change your mentality. All right. Think as a tenant, okay? And think as a buyer who's coming to buy from you. And what is the final point? The final and 10th point is the exit plan. Always have a great exit plan. What do I mean by that? When you buy a property, before you buy a property, ask yourself this: who is going to buy this property from me? Okay. Will I be able to buy this? Will I be able to sell this property immediately if I wanted to sell this property? Okay. And in order for you to do so, you must put yourself in the tenant's position. Think, if I was a tenant and I walked into this building, will I like this building? All right. Does this building look interesting? Do I want to commute from downtown to this area every day? What's special about this building? All right. As a tenant, will I be comfortable bringing my friends into this building and feel proud? Okay. Ask yourself this: if I walk into your unit, will I be like, wow, this is amazing, it feels nice, I want to rent it immediately? All right. Or if you're a real estate buyer coming to buy your property, will I be like, this is the best thing I've ever seen in the market, I want to buy this unit immediately? Why is this? I will give you a very good quote and keep this in your mind. You don't make money on the sale, okay? You make money on the buy, all right? So when you buy correctly, then you sell better, okay? So before you buy, think, who are you going to sell this to, right? How can I exit this property if I needed to exit, right? Here's a quick example. You buy a property, a say a 2 bedroom with a sea view next to the beach and next to the boat dock, yeah, where the boats can come and park. Who is your target audience? People who own boats. Do you understand what I mean? You buy a property near the mall, for example. Who's your target audience? People who like that retail life, all right? So you gotta have a target audience. You have to know who's going to buy it from me. Don't just buy something and expecting anybody from the market will come and buy my property, that I can sell my property to anyone. That's a mistake that most people do. All right. Another great example. You buy property, you have a property in the golf course, overlooking the golf course. Who are you going to sell this property to? People who love playing golf. All right. And the list goes on and on and on. All right. So have an exit plan. Don't just buy property in the middle of nowhere just because somebody says that there's going to be capital appreciation in that area. Okay. That this is the next best thing. You should buy now. Okay, fine. You will buy cheap. But if you buy at a low price and you can't sell it to anybody, what use is it buying cheap? So always have an exit plan. And remember, you don't make money when you sell the property. You make money when you buy the property. So you buy good, you sell better. All right? Ask yourself, who's going to buy this property from me? Yeah? Who do I want to rent this property to? And if you use that mentality, if you use that perspective in real estate investment, trust me, you're never going to lose money. You're never going to lose money. Everybody I've seen losing money in real estate had at least three of these points missing. Everybody. They either have too much competition, all right? There is no wow factor in their property, or a terrible developer. Everybody I've seen losing money. But if you have all these 10 steps in place, all right, there is absolutely no way that you could lose money in real estate. Real estate is one of the safest assets, one of the safest investments you can ever make in the world, period. God is not making any more land, all right? What we have here is what we have. So make sure you follow all these steps to invest accordingly in the real estate business. Now, to sum it all up, all these points that I've just mentioned here mean absolutely nothing if you do not have the right real estate consultant. Okay? If you don't have the right real estate agent, it means absolutely nothing, because in one way or another, probably you won't get the best of it. All right. It's truly hard to get all of these points correctly, especially if you're just an investor and you have a lot of things to take care of, right? So make sure you get a great real estate consultant who matches your energy, matches your speed, matches your understanding of the real estate business and the numbers, and you will always make money. Okay? Because if you don't have the right guidance, potentially Even if you had the best interest at heart, you can lose money on this. All right. So make sure you have the best real estate consultant to guide you through this process. All right. That's it for today. This has been a guide for you, for all real estate investors, on how to invest in real estate, especially if it's off plan. So if you want to invest in real estate, get in touch with me. I'd be more than happy to guide you through this process. My name is Miro Koto. This is the Offplan Show. Thank you for watching. See you again next time.